Well, hello, my brothers and sisters. This is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on the Supernatural Show with my co-host Shannon,
Hello.
and we're going to show you some supernatural things today. We've got two supernatural stories that y'all guys sent in and submitted to us, and anyone can do that. You can submit a story to the show to be read live on the show, and we'll talk about your story and tell you what we think as well. And on top of that, you know, we believe you. We know that these supernatural things go on out there and happen because they happen to me, and they've happened to me many times. They happen literally in the last days. You know, supernatural angels showing up above a church just down from me. And if you haven't heard me talk about angels before, well, the Bible says they are bright white and round all about, and they'll appear across the veil, coming where you can't see them, and then all of a sudden there'll be a spark, and then right after the spark, poof, they show up. They cross the veil, they pierced it, and they're bright white and round all about. Most of the time, although I have seen about a month and a half ago, I seen some red ones, which was really strange. They were reddish, white, reddish, but they had a lot of red to them, and so it was um, quite interesting. So, but you can submit your story just simply by going to the supernatural.show. And that is the website, the supernatural.show. It is the people's website, and this is the people's show. And why that is because we tell your stories, and the website is about you as well. And you'll know that and see that as soon as you decide to become a member of the website. The website's still growing fast. And there are some things on the website that you can do absolutely free, quite a few things. But then, if you would like to support the show and our work that we do every week, over and over and over, continuing to let the world know that the supernatural is not taboo, it's just something that needs to be understood. And so, you can become a member of the website for $3.99 a month if you would like. We also have still the coupon code that you can use, which is 75% off of the first 3 months, which makes it less than $1 for the first 3 months. And so if you don't like it, all you got to do in your own account right on there is hit cancel, and you're done. So, but I think you'll like it if you'll try it. So, Shannon, what in the supernatural is going on?
Well, I'm just kind of recovering from the long day that I had up in Lake Arrowhead, and I stuck around and helped out with their event a little bit to set up and talk to some of the wonderful people up there. And did kind of want to mention that I know you guys are aware that last year we had what was called Snowmageddon, or that's what I call it specifically, up in Lake Arrowhead, Crestline, Mount Baldy, all of this Southern California area. And it was quite devastating to the people. They just weren't prepared for such a harsh winter. And finding out that this winter is going to probably be worse, we're going to start setting up some kind of uh, I guess, an aid type of a thing to help them prepare for this coming year. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to probably set it up on the website. I might mention it a couple more times, but we kind of want to get them a little more prepared because there was a lot of death that happened, unfortunately. In that situation, roofs caved in, flooding, people were trapped in their house without electricity. It was quite a terrible situation, and a lot of us down the hill weren't even allowed to go up to help our friends and family. So this year, we want to try and get a little more prepared, and see what we can do to help them out. So that's my little update for you.
Yeah, the website actually has a specific page that I've created for things like you're talking about, Shannon. We haven't started anything on it yet, but this is the page where we'll be from time to time if we see a suitable situation where we attempt to help our brothers and sisters out, we'll set it up on the bread exchange, and that's what it's called. Is the People's Bread Exchange, and it'll have the information about the fundraiser, who our contacts are, who we're talking to, those kind of things. Because I don't know if y'all guys know or not, but sometimes you can need a little help. And the way this world is designed is it's designed to keep us all divided and separated and not willing to help each other, not even willing to know who your neighbor is. That's not the way it was supposed to be, you know. And so we don't want to continue that trend. We want to promote the fact that we should all help each other from time to time. As a matter of fact, one of you guys, I'm not sure if you're watching this episode, but you sent Scott, a friend of mine, a CPAP. I needed one a couple of years ago and put a call out for me to get a CPAP, and Shannon actually sent me one. And I'm still using it, and it sure does help me sleep a lot better. And because if you can't sleep, it's terrible. And there's also another place on the website as well where y'all guys are going to be able to put your own needs up when it comes to things like that. See, a CPAP is technically called illegal to resell them, but um, nothing says you can't give it away. And so, thank you to, I don't have your name right here in front of me at the moment, but thank you for sending Scott that CPAP. He, it's Michael. Michael. Okay, Michael. Thanks, Michael, for sending Scott that CPAP. And I'm going to be getting back a hold of you after the show because um, I need to call Scott and we want to get your the shipping costs refunded to you because it was like $95 to ship that from where they were at to him in Canada. But we're going to get that taken care of. Um, but yeah, so we're going to have those kinds of things. That's why I call it the people's website, is because you'll be able to go on here and say, hey guys, I need a CPAP. Or hey guys, I need whatever. And then one of your other brothers and sisters can reach there, pick it up, and get it to you. You know, everything doesn't have to have a dollar bill attached to it in this world. You know, there's so many of y'all guys that have helped me out in so many ways, and including Shannon here. Here she is still helping me out as the co-host of the show. So yeah, the People's website and the People's show. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the content of the show today. Shannon, I think you know kind of what we're the first thing we're going to talk about.
Could it possibly have to do with the Rothschilds?
Hmm. Yeah, the Rothschilds are doing something kind of strange. You say the Rothschilds. Yeah, the Rothschilds. Do you know who the Rothschilds are? What it means, Shannon?
Oh, well, I do believe it has something to do with red, and you had mentioned that Roth was mentioned when you were speaking of the line of Cain, and that they were descendants of that line, which would make a lot of sense.
Hmm. Yeah. See, when Cain was after he killed his brother in Scripture, he was God got mad at him, of course, and he was punished, and so he became wroth, you know, and they're still wroth, and they've named themselves Rothschild because they're the descendants, and they know they are, and they're still mad, and that's why they're still fighting with God, still trying to go back to the garden and put man and woman back together again, is because they're still red faced. They're still the red dragon, the red serpent, the red face thing, you know. So it's wrath.
I
So
don't
with that being said, huh?
I don't know if you're familiar with John Todd, aka Lance Collins, and his testimonies, but if you ever get a chance to listen to those, him and his family, the Collinses, go way back. They were actually some of the first people to come on to the Mayflower and things along those lines. And they had pretty much one-on-one connection with the Rothschilds. And he became a born again Christian, even though he was born into a witch type family, and it's very interesting to hear their experience with that particular family and how connected to the dark side they really are. But praise Jesus that John Todd, aka Lance Collins, ended up coming to Jesus and really trying to help save others from the same fate of going down the dark path. And anyways, I just kind of wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out. I was going to say we're going to look at a video here that I just pulled off of YouTube, and we're going to look at it. It was somebody filming the some of the stuff at the auction, and you'll say sometimes I would imagine, and I think I've probably done it in the past, a long time ago, and that is be envious of how these people live. But here's the thing: these people aren't free. They can't even walk the streets. They can't go to the store like we do. They're not free. They're bound by their wealth. Their wealth is so high and mighty that they have to do everything and hide and occult everything in order to protect their perceived wealth. When true wealth is actually just simply knowledge and knowing the things that we talk about here on this show. So if you watch this show, you're wealthy. The kind of wealth you're getting ready to see is not true wealth. You can't take it with you, you know, but you can take, and we are expected to take the knowledge that we gain here and learn how to walk the narrow path with a rod of iron in your hand. We're supposed to take that. That's why we're here, is to learn these things. And then that then allows us to go to the next level, go to heaven, where we all would like to go. But they're stuck here. They can't leave. They can't even go to heaven because of their wealth. But let's take a look at this little video. And I haven't even watched the whole thing, so we'll see what we see. Hopefully, that nothing goes wrong because I didn't watch the whole video, but I'm sure it's fine. Let's take a look. This is the stuff they're selling, or some of the stuff. They're selling things in New York and they're selling things in Paris. They've already held the New York sales, and now they're getting ready to do the sales in Paris.
I just want to say I wouldn't want to buy anything from their estate. Who knows how cursed it is?
Yeah, yeah, no way. I wouldn't want
Not
it.
like I could ever afford it, but
Yeah, we don't have to worry about it.
right.
There would be so much demonic attachment to this stuff, you would not want it in your house. Absolutely.
Right. So,
See, this is what they perceive as wealth. And there was a time in my life where I believed what they had taught me growing up, but no more. I know what true wealth is. Yeah, it's a few minutes long here, so let's play here for a few minutes.
look at that.
I think if we literally stopped and freeze frame most of this stuff, I could decode it, the symbolism within most of it. I see tons of symbolism, of course. Even the patterns and the colors and everything all has a meaning. That right there is in a circle because it's making him a deity, it's a god. The archway is the gateway.
Do you want to bet that bowl is worth more than my house?
Say what, Shannon?
So what you want to bet that bowl right there is probably more expensive than my house.
We're actually going to look at after the video. We're going to look at some of the estimated prices they have on some of it, and we can even probably look at what some of these things sell for. But I'm not going to focus too much on that side of it. But
Right.
I do
Just
find it interesting. You
right.
see, when they put something inside of a circle, what they're doing is, see, a circle is the shape of an angel. It's round all about. And so what they're doing is they're saying that they are like God. They're super special in some way. It's not true, but that's what they do. That's why it's like that on the money. You know, they have the circles around the people and the images of people on the money. It's saying they're like God. They're deity type, and they're not. They can't not even escape this level. They can never go to the next level until one day, when somehow they're able to stop their wicked ways, because these people get this wealth by stomping on people. They stomp millions and billions of people every day throughout the world with all their corporations, and they stomp the people in order to get this wealth. Probably solid silver. Looks like dragons. People all twisted up. Looks like a serpent on that couch. On those chairs, look at a serpent on it. All of the designs will be symbolic. They will have symbolic meanings attached to a lot of the paintings. I would like it. Even the wallpaper. I do like antiques. I mean, I really like antiques because things were made so well back in the day, and now everything's like from Walmart and the dollar store.
Yeah, nothing really is well made anymore like it used to be.
Right. So this stuff is obviously very well made, but the problem is the demonic attachments because of these
That
houses.
my grandparents were antique dealers. Oh.
Say what, Shannon?
Said my grandparents were antique dealers on my
Oh
mom.
yeah, yeah. Well, I used to be the Idaho picker,
Yeah, I
buying,
just knew that.
buying and selling stuff like that. Not like this, but
All right.
like this. Let's see. It's a man in a boat, and either a man or a woman. Let me blow it up here. Hang on.
I think those are two men for sure.
Okay. I'm making mine bigger so I can see it better. At least I'm trying. Oh, hang on. It's not wanting me to do it with that thing like that. There we go. Yeah, two men in a boat rowing across the water inside of somewhat of a circle. Yeah, with fruit coming out of the corners. Like looks like some type of fruits and things. Yeah, pretty interesting. for buying it.
And then all the paintings are done of the statues, the statue paintings. That's why they're like that. Right. So this conjures all that up.
Well, they definitely like their statues of naked people. That's for sure.
Lots of idols.
Yeah. Let's switch over to the website, and this is the auction site. And after this, guys, we're going to read the two supernatural stories, and we're not going to spend too much more time on this. But one of you guys actually made me aware of this was going on, and I appreciate you sending it to me. And there's no way to know exactly what's causing this, although they are trying to take uh, the Rothschild Bank. They're trying to take it back private right now, as a matter of fact, and that may have something to do with it. See, it says Rothschilds aim for full control of the bank that bears their name. They made the bank public. Now they're trying to take it back private, and for some reason, I mean, when you start selling things, sometimes, especially people like them that don't need money, why would you sell things that mean things to them? It's like it's almost like they maybe need money, but that's hard to believe. I don't know. It may be. I think ultimately, I would imagine it ties back to just what we were talking about. It ties back to, you see, when you get a bunch of greedy people working together, and then one of the people who's in a power position tries to say, "Well, I don't want to play this game anymore." The other greedy people will then jump on that person's back and try to destroy them. All the way back to Cain being jealous of his brothers uh, having approval or having what he valued, what they value is wealth in this way and control. But I think there's probably has to do with some kind of internal turmoil going on where their own blade is turned against them. That's the feeling I'm feeling about this. Is their own blade is getting turned against them. Like I said, they already did the auctions down in up in New York. I'm gonna click. We're gonna take a look at some of the results if they show it here. See how much the stuff was selling for. Okay, so there you kind of have it. Like this stuff here. Well, here's a little cup. Okay, and it sold for $6,930 for the cup. And
Oh, thank you.
let's see these two little fancy things here. Somebody looks like a baby leaning on a skull, and it sold for $6,048. Here you got the serpent in the garden, and it sold for $20,000. The estimate was 1,000 to 1,500, and it sold for over 20,000.
Oh, the other thing next to it was 88 or 88,200. Holy
Yeah,
shenanigans.
it estimated to sell between 2 and 3,000, and ended up selling for over 88,000. And it is a serpent again, climbing up a nature scene, kind of like in the garden. You see how I'm right about where I say this goes back to? This is the garden. This is imagery of that stuff, of that story. Oh, what a trip! I hadn't looked at these previous. I didn't know what I was going to see. Here's some more things. Holy smackaroos! Well, they definitely made a profit. That's for sure. I mean, So this plate here is in the image of the torus or the gateway or the eye.
It's very CERN reminiscent.
It is, and it has, as you can see, it has doorways all the way around it. Those are different portals. Uh, Scripture says that the sun and the moon travel through portals, and in this world that we live in, and this is an image of the world that we live in, and the gateways and the portals that surround it. Then we have another serpent one over here, like a lizard or some kind of a. Wait a minute, is a lizard a serpent? I might be misspeaking on that. It's a reptile, right?
Lizard. It's definitely a reptile.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So this little thing sold for $75,000. Let's look at this a little closer. Let's pull the image up a little bit bigger if we can. Let's see. Okay, well, that's big as it's going to get. Or maybe not. No, it does get bigger. Okay.
Very.
Can you see any symbolism here of things I talk about?
Oh yeah, and we've
That I,
got, of course, the Masonic pillars, but as actual people, which is interesting.
and their legs are wound up on the see on the left here. How the legs are wound like the legs of a serpent.
Or the caduceus with the two.
Yeah, the caduceus, the same thing. The serpent's wound around it. The thing that's on the side of your ambulance is to come to pick you up when you can't take care of yourself and you call on the beast. They'll send a cube to get you, which is the shape of the ambulance. The cube. They'll send the cube to get you, and it has the serpent symbols right on the side to say that they're going to use pharmakia on you, which is potions and witchcraft. So you see, you got this one here. I mean, these they look demonic at minimum, and of course you got a doorway and the two pillars, which are the two people, the man and the woman, and then you have the kind of like a cherubim almost image up here with the wings, just like you see at a typical courthouse, and it's all symbolism related to literally the Bible and the story of it
That
all.
that one is interesting because the thing in the center that's coming out of the doorway looks almost like a locust.
Over here,
Mm-hmm. Could be a dragon or a locust. And locusts that come from the pit. That's just kind of what it reminds me of.
these things right here.
Mm-hmm.
Remember in I Pet Goat how the water lilies pop up um, when the new creation has been created and birthed for My Pet Goat?
Yeah.
How they got the flowers here, and it looks like there's obviously some water symbolism here as well. And gateway, and then there's a serpent coming from this side, it looks like, and the tail of the serpent over here. This guy looks like every image I've seen of Satan. He's even got the pointy ears. Wow, let's look at spending more time than I expected on this, but I didn't know what I was going to find. So let's see here. You see, this is a cube as well. See the shape? It's cubical, and then on top it has a circle like a torus type image on the top. probably show us the top here in a second. I would assume. Yeah.
It's like the circle and the square
Yeah.
type thing.
Square and the circle kind of stuff. And this is all world imagery with the four angels on each corner.
On each corner.
You know, and this is the world, WHRLED. This is symbolism for the world that we live in. At least that's part of it, is what this is. And of course, somebody would say, "Oh, that's just where you wash your hands." It's much deeper than that. Let's uh, let's look at a couple more of these. We'll move on to something else. All right, let's uh, let's back up and see one more thing that we find fascinating, and then we'll move on with the show. Okay, so we looked at that. If you see something particularly interesting, Shannon, just let me know.
I mean, it's all kind of interesting. They all are
Yeah,
riddled with symbolic imagery. Those
yeah.
are very interesting.
There's a saying that's neither money nor gold nor basically anything controls the world. Actually, symbolism is what controls the world. That's why cops drive the cars they drive with all the symbols on them and have this certain color of light that flashes. It's the purple, which is the authority color. It has to do with the deity color, the color of the throne, and the symbols that are on their jackets are symbols of authority, which make instantly make people submit to that authority. That's a $3,000 pig swine.
Like the story of Jesus putting the
Yeah.
legion within the pig.
Hmm. They would rather go into the swine than be cast to hell. Then the swine, realizing the demons were cast into them, murdered their own self. Okay, let's look a little bit more. I would imagine if we
Oh,
look
the
low,
golden calf clock is
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, let's look at that. You normally don't get a chance to see these kind of things in this clarity and close up. So I kind of there's things to be discerned, even though where this came from, it is the story that we're trying to understand. This is directly related um, to the things we want the answers to. Let me see if I can zoom that one up. Yeah, here we go. We'll look at the top part first. So
Child.
you got the child with the woman, and she has the sun with the face on it, the image of the sun, the Taurus that exists in the heavens, that is the pupil of an eye, depending on which way you're looking from or your perspective, will tell you whose eye it is. Um, the child has something in his hand. How old you reckon this thing is, Shannon? It is a seemingly fairly modern looking clock, but
I'm not sure. I think it does say it should have a
yeah,
description.
it'll probably say. Yeah, I was just wondering. It is.
It could be,
It's definitely at least an antique. It's at least an antique, 100 years,
right.
but probably older than that. It'd be interesting to see here in just a minute. There's your bull,
The golden calf. That's what
the
I
golden calf, like Wall Street,
said.
the bull that rushes forward, cannot turn. If you ever watch a bullfighter with the bull, someone that's really good, you learn things about the animal characteristics of a bull and why they use the symbolism they do with that. It rushes forward foolishly. I do like antiques, but I declare I wouldn't have this in my house. Knowing where it come from, I just couldn't deal with it. There's the back. We'll look at it real quick. So that's pretty. It's all mechanical. I'm guessing.
Maybe 1800s,
Yeah,
19.
18 mid to late 18. I'm guessing. Let's go see how close I was. So
Century.
it says 20th century. So then that would be 19, right?
1900s.
Yep. So it's early 19, which kind of makes sense. But yeah, let's see here if it says any more. Oh, it says 1827 to 1905.
Oh, okay. So we weren't too far off.
Province literature. So yeah, we were in the ballpark. Yeah, pretty close. Huh. Interesting. Guys, I'll put the. Actually, I don't need to put the links to this anywhere. All you got to do is Google Rothschild Christie's auction. If you want to look at some of this, I'm actually interested to keep looking, to be honest. But I might be boring some of y'all guys to death. But I think you can understand that those of you that know my work, why I would be a bit fascinated with looking at the symbolism of, of these creations. That's an interesting one. Huh. All right. Well, we could look all day probably. And they got even richer than they thought they were going to get. Like this was going to sell this rug. This rug, $25,000, Shannon.
No.
And it's only early 19th century. Well, that means it's 1800s. So that's an old rug for $25,000. Somebody paid for that.
No way.
Just have so much money that it doesn't matter. If they want it, they just spend whatever it takes to get it.
On a rug instead of
Yeah,
helping people out.
yeah. The people
Love
starving all around them in the city they're in, and they'll go buy a $25,000 rug and hoard that rug. See this?
I get
That's the kind of
collectors.
pain for you.
I get collectors and things a bit, again, my grandparents dealt in antiques and all of that. But I, again, just would not, you couldn't pay me enough to have something that was in the Rothschild estate or owned by a Rothschild. Like, you couldn't pay me enough for it. I'd be
Right.
like, what demonic stuff is attached to this?
Yeah, you never know. It could have been curses can be placed on these things.
Exactly. That's all I keep thinking. It's like, yeah, no thanks.
Interesting thing about the bird, and this subject kind of keeps coming up, the subject of the chattering bird. Do you know that the the fax machine was the study of the birds chattering was how they learned to do digital coding for like a fax machine or even the internet. We can't hear the sound that this makes as it's traveling, but it's a chatter. It's these days a very fast chatter. But if you take the sound of a bird chirping, you think they're just going chirp 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 chirp, but they're not. Within each of those chirps is a long message, and just the slightest change in their chirp changes the message. We They speak at a pace that is way faster than we're able to discern. We can't slow it down enough to know what the bird is saying. Their pattern is like if you took my voice and sped it up 1,000 times, you'd say that sounds like a bird chirping. Yeah, or information that you may not have wanted to know. All right, so yeah, you can. I find it interesting, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I did research it some. However, I may go back and look at some more of those things and just see. I'm really interested in the symbolism. So, so now, Shannon, it happens to be story time,
Story
and
time.
this story was submitted by S.S. Stoltz, I believe. That's how to pronounce it, possibly. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. And it almost reminds me of, well, I better not say that. Okay. Stoltz, it reminds me of,
Eric Stoltz, like the actor. That's what I thought of.
wasn't there an actor on Hogan's Heroes that was named Stoltz or something like that?
I
It's,
don't know if he was on Hogan's Heroes, but I do know of Eric Stoltz, which was a very famous actor in the 80s and early 90s. I think he might still do some stuff. I'm not sure. But
okay. Well, she or he, I'm not sure if it's she or he, but thank you for sending the story in. We're going to read your story now. And y'all guys, you can submit your own stories for us to read here live and discuss and try to discern and help you understand sometimes maybe better why this happened to you. Because sometimes when these supernatural things happen, it's trying to tell us something through symbolism, which again is why we need to understand symbolism. Like when I seen the angels rising above the church, and then I prayed, Father, please, if I'm supposed to go to that church, if there's something there I'm to do or something there I'm supposed to go for, have the angels rise up again the next night. And they did. They rose above again, about 6 to 7 angels, one after the other, rising above this church just down the street here. And I was unable to make it over there yesterday, but I'm going next Sunday for sure. All right. So let's read our story. This is well, I'll just let it tell itself. It says during a time of doubt and well, hold that thought. Let me get a sweet of water. Sorry, guys. During the time of doubt and searching for truth, I was living in Greenville, South Carolina, working at a hospital. A few coworkers and myself were leaving one location and returning to the main hospital. I was at a red light in the left turning lane, and my coworkers were in the cars behind me. The car next to me started going, and without looking, I also started turning left. I heard car horns and saw a large vehicle coming quickly to my driver's side door. The light was still red. I felt, you know what? I'm reading your story, ain't I, Shannon?
yeah, that's okay. You can read both.
Well, then you're going to get to read the other one. And you
Oh,
haven't read it yet.
oh, I haven't read it yet. It's okay. You
All
go.
right.
You go with yourself.
Oh, all right. I'll go ahead. All right. I just realized I'm like, wait a minute. This ain't the story that I titled the video on. very human. This ain't no fancy Hollywood production, that's for sure.
No.
But we are live all across the world. Y'all guys put in the comments what city or country you're from. Drop in the comments where y'all guys are all from because there's a lot of you out there. So let's keep going. So I heard car horns and saw a large vehicle coming quickly to my driver's side door. The light was still red. I felt strange, and everything was in slow motion. Do you remember my story the other day, me talking about how everything goes into slow motion? And
Right.
then, and then supernatural things happen after that slow motion. So I felt strange, and everything was in slow motion. I felt and saw something literally go through me and my car. I never stopped turning left into the 5-lane road. I couldn't make sense of what just happened. I felt so strange. This event consumed me all the way back to work. I tried to shake it off and forget about it, but when we arrived back, my coworkers crowded me and were excitedly talking about how I should have been in an accident and how incredible it was from their vantage point. I thought it was all in my head. They told me God saved me for a reason. I believed there was I believed there was a God, but again I was in doubt and searching. I didn't praise God or turn to him just yet. He knows I'm a little dense. So he saved me a couple of more times, less obvious to others around me. Then I began remembering other times. He was there without me even acknowledging him to save me from something. Thank you, God, for loving me first.
It's pretty
Or
incredible because she and other coworkers behind her as they're driving behind her actually saw the event happen, and she vaguely recalled for us that moment in time as it slowed down, something actually passing through her, but nothing happened to her. She was safe, everything was okay, and her coworkers were just like, oh my god, that was amazing. Like, God saved you for a reason. That was just an incredible supernatural experience. And sometimes when those things happen, it takes a minute to kind of like settle in. And, it took her a little, I think, believe her, this person, a little bit longer to come to the realization that God had done such an amazing supernatural thing to save their life. But
it
now
took
they're
me
like,
half
oh my
my
God,
life.
praise
Yeah,
Jesus.
it took me half my life to figure out these same kind of things that happened to me. And the thing where she says, I felt strange and everything was in slow motion. I've experienced that a number of times in these same type of situations where I was going to die. I remember when I was 18, 17 or 18, and I was in the back seat of a car. And some of you might have heard the story, and I'll give you a short version. We were 17, 18. We weren't drinking, but we were out riding around, and I was in the back seat. And it was an old like Camaro that had been souped up to go fast, but it didn't even have interior in the car. It did have the seats, two bucket seats in the front and the bottom seat in the back, but everything else had been ripped out, and it was all raw metal. And you know how when you take the interior out, there's all these gaps in the metal, and there's all these lines where you could cut your fingers if you run them on. Well, we decided we wanted to race another guy named Tracy, and the guy driving was Ernie, and the guy in the passenger seat was John. That's their real names. And we went out to this road over in Conway, South Carolina, way past what used to be called the Fast Fair. And we went down there and turned around and started racing back. Where we didn't ever decided, well, how are we going to know when someone has won? Where's the finish line? We never did set that as foolish children. So we started racing back, and I knew that there was a curve coming up, And I also knew that in that curve there was a whoop in it. And I looked up, and we're at the speedometer, and we're doing 140. And, you know, in an old 70 something Camaro, that's getting it pretty good. And I leaned up to Ernie and I said, Ernie, there's a curve coming up. And right after I said that, slow motion, baby. Everything went into slow motion. Womp. And every second dragged on. I don't know. It's just slow motion. And I turned and I looked and I seen we had won the race, you might say, if the race was to the curve. But I seen uh, as we were hitting that whoop in the road, the car come up and it started sliding off the road. You know, everything was in slow motion. I looked to my left and I seen Tracy in the other car starting to come by, and he was still on the road, and he was on the other lane where there was no whoop. And so he was able to continue around the curve and luckily not hit someone head on and kill a bunch of people. But we weren't so lucky because we hit the hoop, the whoop de whoop in the road. And then right as the, there was a doctor's yard and his house set way back, like a couple acres. And there was these big, huge pine trees in the yard. And right as well, in the front, there was this long fence. And there were wood posts, that is what this fence is made out of. And right as we started hitting them, and this is in slow motion, or because it all happened in a matter of a second or two, you know, it's like, and one of them came through the windshield and went out the back window and didn't hit no one with us three in the car. Then the front end of the car stove in the dirt and it flipped end over end several times, which I know this because Tracy, the other guy, and the people that were in the car with him were watching, and they said your front end stove the ground and you started flipping end over end. And then we hit a couple of pine trees. Ernie, the one driving, was thrown out of the car and was laying out in the middle of the grass. John, who was in the passenger seat, was up under the front steering wheel. He was down there with the gas pedal. I don't even know how he got down there, but he was down there. He was all the way in the floorboard up under the dash. And me, because after I heard the clunk, clunk, clunk and seen the log coming, the lights went out and I was unaware. And then the next thing I know is I feel myself back in my body and I'm laying out of the door of the passenger side. It was a two-door Trans Am Camaro type 70s thing. So it only had two doors. I'm laying out of the door and the door's open. Everything's completely still. Car's not running. There's no smoke. There's no smell. There's no nothing. Just complete peace, really. And half my body from the waist up was hanging out of the door and I was touching the ground, the grass. My legs were in the car in the floorboard and back seat kind of thing. The pine tree about this far away from my head was one of the big pine trees and it was smashed into the side of the car this far from my head. And I looked up and I crawled out of the car real quick and I started feeling myself because I knew I had to be dead or either badly injured, but I did not have a scratch. Not a bruise, not a scratch, not a limp, not a nothing. Not a hair on my head was hurt. To the left, inside the doorway, I could see John was now in the driver's floorboard, and I said, John, are you okay? And he's hollered, "Ah!" His shoulder was dislocated, and he had some cuts and bruises and some stuff. Not doing too great. And I helped him get up and get out, and I said, "Where's Ernie?" And we're looking around, and we realized he's back down yonder where the car had flipped like this. He come out of one of the windows, swung him out, and he's just laying there, motionless. I'm figuring dead, because at this point in my life, I had no idea that God had sent angels in and protected us all, but definitely me for sure, completely, absolutely. Not a bruise, not a scratch, no interior in the car, 140-mile-an-hour in no wind, hitting multiple pine trees with logs this big around, flying around through the car. He was laying motionless, and we both went over to him and said, Ernie. And he goes, ugh. We're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I think so. And he gets up, and he had some cuts and bruises and stuff, but nothing that bad. Nobody was really hurt that bad. Probably the worst was John's dislocated shoulder. And Tracy turned around, come back and got us, and we all took off to the hospital because we'd been in a terrible wreck. We must be hurt. And I'm still thinking I must be hurt, but I wasn't, because God can come in if you believe at all. And I've always, even since a child, my mama told me that there was a God and that we were children of God. And because she told me that as a child, I just believed that it was the truth. Thank God she did do that for me, because my mama did not lie to me, and I knew that. So there must be a God. So I believed. So God will send in angels, stop the motion of the world, and can protect you supernaturally at any moment. There is no time too short. That's how our Father in heaven works. That's how strong and powerful and always there for you He is. He's there for you right now. He's there for all of us within the sound of my voice right now. Angels are amongst you, but you cannot see. They're beyond the veil, but they see you, and God has them there protecting you. Yet you do not know, or maybe you do. But I'm speaking the truth to you today, that they are there with you now. And so is your Father, and He would like to hear from you from time to time. And you can talk to Him just like I'm talking to you, just like you're talking to your Father, because that's who He is. We all came and were created by our Father in heaven. And the sooner we all realize that He's right there, and the angels that He created as well to protect us and to serve His needs in this world, as soon as we realize that they're there and He's there at all times, once you realize that, you can walk in faith. No, not in ego, like, I got God on my side, I'll do anything I want. Not that kind of thing. But knowing that He's there, and no army brought against you can succeed. No weapon can prevail. For your Father in heaven loves you so much, and He realized that this world was so horrible that He created to refine us in, that He sent His only Son, sent Himself literally, to come here and give us a redemption and a way out of this world. I don't know if He felt He made a mistake or if that was the plan from the beginning. is not for all things for us to understand. But I do believe that to be the truth. There's been many times in my life that I've thought that man wrote the Bible. Well, who do you think was going to write it? God can supernaturally do all things, but who would he have to write something that he's trying to teach? The man, the men, the people. The Bible's real, folks. The more you study it, the more you understand it, the more you'll know my words are true.
And now there's so much amazing archaeological evidence to prove that as well. For those who need tangible evidence, it exists. It's out there. I just want to give a shout out to Ron Wyatt for any of you who know.
Ron Wyatt's story itself is supernatural.
100%.
And the things that, see, when you seek, you shall find. And if you do not seek, you shall not find. But if you seek and you want to know the truth and understand it like I do, I am just a simple man, foolish man that has had to learn almost everything the hard way. I've committed almost every sin because I was a foolish man. But luckily, I always did believe there was a God, but I wasn't seeking him. But once you seek him, you'll find him because he's already there because he loves you. He's like your father watching over you from the porch. He sees you playing there next to the fire ant bed, and he knows you're going to get curious and wonder what that little hill of dirt is. But he's not going to run out there and stop you from your first sting. He's going to let you get stung because he wants you to learn that the burner is hot. You see, it's very similar to the relationship between us and our own children. In fact, it's the same. It's just that our Father's love never falters. And we can always turn back and say, Daddy, Father in heaven, forgive me. I knew not what I did. And he'll be right there for you. He's there for you now. He's waiting for you to talk to him.
And might I add, you are never too far gone to call out to Jesus. Never.
No. Even Rothschild himself can call out. He can repair any wound. He can save any soul. It's just some of us are more hard headed than others. And I've been pretty hard headed in my life. But now I can actually see the narrow path. And I can actually understand the rod of iron. Understanding that when you misstep and allow anyone to take you down a path or allow yourself to go down a path that is not the narrow path, the narrow way, the narrow gate, what those things will lead to. So therefore you have to walk with a rod of iron symbolically in your hand. Because if you're walking the narrow path, you will not bend. And you will not let anyone bend you because you do not bend. So we've got one more story here, guys, from Michelle to read. Uh, you want me to go ahead and read it, or you want to read it, Shannon?
You go for it.
Okay. This is what the video itself was titled after, actually. The subject on the video. Um, so, yeah, Michelle sent this to us. Thank you very much, Michelle. This is a pretty intense story. I haven't read it all the way through, but I read enough to know it's intense and it's purposeful, and you're going to want to hear it. So, I would advise you don't go nowhere. And I would also ask you guys, you know, there's ways that you can help with what our mission is that we're doing here. And they only take a second,
Right?
literally no effort at all.
Please like, subscribe, push the
Um,
little
so
thumbs up, guys.
we're using a wicked tool for a beautiful way because these tools were designed for wicked purposes, but we don't have to use them for those things. So, Michelle, thank you. I'm going to read your story now. Michelle says, "Greetings, Daniel. With your last video, DNA altering, I wanted to share a dream I had back around 2013. I don't know if this will be too graphic for you to share." And the answer is no. As long as it's truth, there and the intention is there, we can talk about anything. We can be naked and humble as children because we can talk about anything when the when it's truth. It's all that matters. Okay, but I wanted to at least share it with you. I dreamed I found myself standing on top of a small hill. I don't know where I was, whether on this earth or somewhere else. Everything was gray in color, and beside me on the hill was a short tree that looked like an olive tree to me. The tree was the only thing in color at the beginning of my dream. I turned my head towards the tree, and it was so beautiful and alive. I could see each single leaf moving slightly, almost glowing, and so alive. It was radiating. Seeing this tree took me to what I was being shown. So I'm up on a hill and I'm overlooking a large city, like a downtown kind of city with skyscrapers. I could hear the most horrific noise coming from the city. I looked towards the city, and as I did, I could hear screams and crying and wailing, so loud and horrific sounding, it filled the air. The sound was so awful I can't even explain it fully. I was up on a hill just outside the city. When I looked, I saw as if my eyes could zoom in up close, and I saw many, many people out in the streets. What I saw was the scariest thing. I saw so many people of all races, ages, men, women, old and young, screaming, crying. They were all piled in the streets, crawling on top of each other, tearing themselves apart. I saw up close people's bodies bending in ways humans can't do. I saw them tearing their flesh off, but they were not bleeding out, nor were they dying. I saw a woman dig her nails into her face, ripping the flesh off as she screamed frantically in excruciating pain. I saw a man had some of his side torn off, exposing his ribs or exposing his rib bones with flesh dangling. I saw old people and I saw young people. I can't really describe what I saw. It was so horrible. For a brief moment, I didn't understand what I was looking at. As soon as I thought that, I instantly knew what I was looking at. I was given the understanding that these people had changed their DNA and were no longer in the image of God. I saw that these people had taken some kind of pill that did everything. I saw that some took it to cure a disease. I saw some took it to look younger. I saw some take it because they wanted to lose weight and some to gain weight. I saw if a person was a little slow in learning, it made them smart. I saw that if you wanted to have athletic skills, the pill could do that too. I saw people take it for so many different reasons. I had an understanding that there is a cord attached to every single person, whether they believe in God or not, whether they worship some kind of other religions, whether they worship the devil or not. I had an understanding that every single person has a cord that is attached, that is connected to God because He is Creator, and for the mere fact that anyone has to breathe. However, I saw as if there was a giant scissor and it cut the cord that literally is attached to God and to the very breath of life. I then understood what I was looking at and what I was hearing. These people had been severed from God forever. I could feel what they were feeling. It was so awful, and there was no undoing. No, I'm sorry. It was final, and it was worse than fire. It was unbearable. These people were crying out in agony of their own souls. The pain from being severed from God, the very breath, was the most excruciating and agonizing pain, not to the flesh, but to the soul. They couldn't escape their own soul. They were driven mad. They were tearing themselves apart, but did not die. They couldn't bear the separation from God, even if they didn't even believe in God, because God is the very breath of all. It was one of the most frightful things I've ever seen. It's like their soul was trapped in darkness, but no physical light, but not a physical light, but like the light of God is literally life. And the cord was cut. Never could it be fixed back together. I was a it was an endless cycle of loop of them ripping and screaming, crying in pain of their soul. The soul was in torture. I started to walk down the hill towards the city and saw three men standing to the side, just looking upon the people in dismay and confusion. I could hear their thoughts towards what they were observing. I walked towards these three men and said to them, I know what this is. I then told them what they were observing, but they just slightly shook their heads in disbelief. They did not believe me. They then turned and continued to watch the people in confusion and wonder. When I awoke, I knew that whatever is coming, I have been warned. And now after all these years, I sit and watch the as things become reality. Please consider Father is our creator and our very breath. Please don't sever your cord. Please don't sever your very cord to your creator. And that is exactly what they are doing right now. All the snake bites that people have been getting and are getting more of them, they know not what they do. They have no faith. They walk in fear. So therefore, they call the cube to come and get them with the caduceus on the side, symbolizing pharmakia. Instead of calling on God, God save me, they call the opposite to come and save them. And then they take the snake bite and other poisons and potions, and it destroys them. And in many cases, it alters the code that is within them, the ribo, the master's code, like the rib that was taken from Eve, the ribo, the master's code, which is part of the words for DNA. That's what they're after. That's what they've been all along after because they want to capture these souls and continue this cycle of chaos and destruction.
This is
So
this
hopefully y'all guys get the meaning from that letter that this person took their time out to write in and share it with y'all guys.
this is just like what I saw in my visions and have had nightmares of over and over. And every time I call out to Jesus in those moments, but in my visions, it was just like that and just absolutely horrific. And I can, it's like confirmation once again that other people have had these dreams and visions. It's so frightening. It is worse than any kind of horror movie you could ever imagine. It's just absolutely horrible.
And when these things come upon us, because we will see these days, do not fear and walk in faith, because God is there.
I pray that we are accounted worthy to not have to see that.
Hopefully you're right, and hopefully we are gone before those times come. But whatever God's will is, I'm willing to walk it because I've spent most of my life not walking His will. So now I will serve and do what He wants. As long as I have breath in me, I do this work. I committed that to y'all guys over a decade ago, and I've kept my word. Even with them terminating my channels over and over and over, I just rebuild them. They'd kick my feet out, and I'd get up again. And if they kick them out again, I'll get up again. I think they've given up on kicking my feet out. And that's what persistence and faith can do because they know I cannot be defeated because they know that God is on my side. Because why? Because I'm wealthy. Why am I wealthy? Because I tell the truth. You know, that story is just so, I guess you could say, like she said, graphic, but all it is truth of what she was seeing. She said she had this dream in 2013. When did you have your visions?
2013?
2013.
Wow.
That's what I
I
thought.
just now realize that and think it's right in front of my face, but I'm like,
The Bible says
wow.
that people will be given dreams and visions of all these things to come, and there will be signs and wonders in the heavens, and all of it is folding right out. And yet, someone will sit here and hear my words and still doubt. You know how fast Father will forgive you if you choose to ask, if you humble yourself. But my God will not be mocked. That's one thing you do not want to do because hell on earth will come upon you. and that is the fear of God. Just like you feared your father when you were a child, that is the fear of God. For you do not want to make a mistake and have Father come upon you and correct you. Michelle, thank you so much for writing this story into us. Y'all guys, like I've said before, I'm looking. We've still got some more stories lined up in the bank, some that we haven't told yet. But I'm hoping that y'all guys will go ahead and tell the truth. Why don't you? Go on the website. It's called the supernatural.show. You don't have to be a member to tell your story and it be read here. And as you can see, I take the story seriously, and so does Shannon. And if you choose and you want to be more involved on the website, you can do that as well. And that is using the coupon code that's there. If you can't afford the website, send me an email to Daniel at the supernatural.show and I'll give it to you for free. This ain't about the money. This is about the truth. And unfortunately, yes, we are still in this world. And when we're here, this beast system demands us to have money in certain ways. Until that one day comes where they say, no more until you take this mark. And we're getting close to that day. But until that time, yeah, we still have light bill just like you. And we hope you appreciate our work. We hope you'll sign up and spend $4 a month to help support this mission, this ministry of truth, and the glorification of our Father in heaven, which is the truth, the Word. So I hope y'all guys also, like we mentioned earlier, share this. It ain't like this is a conspiracy theory. It's just studying the supernatural, which is simply studying all things that are outside of normal, you might say. And a lot of it has to do with God and angels and people getting saved, but it also has to do with a lot of other things like demons and all kind of things like Sasquatch and Bigfoot and people that live in the woods and just all these subject matters. And we talk about all this stuff on the website. Come join the conversation, right, Shannon?
That's right. And know that the supernatural is around us all the time. And for those of us who get the chance to see it or experience it, it it's a life-changing thing, and to be able to share it with others who also understand is precious to me, and I hope that you all feel that way as well. And again, there's other things on the website again to help each other and in your community of brothers and sisters in Christ and those in need, and those things are also priceless. So I just am glad that you guys are here with us today. Thank you so much, and our sharing your stories and listening to people's stories and giving your feedback. And thank you for all your support. And yeah, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and I wanted to, I tried to look at the comments some too as well, and somebody was saying that says, okay, well, I told my testimony, and so apparently people just don't care, have hope and deliverance. I don't give up on people or condemn people, especially those vaxxed and swabbed. Yeah, um, I've been here shouting from the mountaintop myself for a long time, and we have to persist. That's exactly what we have to do. Is we have to continue to persist because we are shepherds. We're trying to call in our brothers and sisters and try to help them. So sure do appreciate you, um, the person behind God Will Exalt. I thank you for being here. Um, Let's see what this person's saying. Steve 68. False deliverance is still in you even after your Daniel fast. I'm not sure what the Daniel fast is. Um, Let me say this because I've been asked this before, but my Father in heaven can do all things. There is nothing that exists that if He chooses that He can't do. Now, I am highly worried for the people who took the snake bite, and I'm highly concerned about their future or the lack thereof. However, if you did that or it was forced upon you, you get on your knees and you scream out to Father, and you stay on your knees and you scream out to Father, and you tell Him you knew not what you did. And if it's in your heart and you feel that way, can our God not do all things? Can He not pull you back from the fire? I could tell you something about pulling things back from the fire. The things I've went through in the last 6 months. Almost everyone would have gave up on the people around me. But I went in the fire and I brought them back. Hallelujah. My God does all things. He is so powerful. And He was there with me the whole time. It was so horrible. But I went in the fire. Sometimes you just can't let the devil have the people you love.
No.
And you have to go all the way.
And stand by their side and pray with
Yeah.
them. Pray for them all the time.
And yes, it can hurt. It can burn. But if you have God on your side, anything is possible. You know someone that took it and they're remorseful and they wish they hadn't, go to them. Get on your knees with them. Our God can do anything. With that being said, guys, I thank you for being here for us today. I greatly love all of you, and I thank all of you for your support. I want to send a special thank you out to my sister Elaine, for she knows, and her Father in heaven knows why. And walk the narrow path. Find it. Ask God, what is Daniel talking about? What is the narrow path? Go look it up in the Bible and read it. Try to get further on it. You're right beside it. Maybe you're one step off. Maybe you're 2 steps off. Maybe you get on it and then you get back off. Find the narrow path and get a rod of iron. I have one I carry. It's a crowbar, basically a pry bar, a big, thick iron one. And I carry it. No, not because I want to hit somebody with it. It's to remind me that a man must walk, and even a woman, with a rod of iron and rule his house and rule his world and rule himself with a rod of iron. And no, I'm not there. I keep stumbling and falling off the path too. I'm talking from my heart though, because I'm with you. I'm there with you. I'm just like you. I'm. You don't think I can be like Daniel? You can be better than Daniel. You can walk a narrower path, and we all need to keep trying. I send my love out to you guys, and we will see you next time. We do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays live, and sometimes we do other days and all days. But
Just
I'm,
to,
yeah, go ahead, Shannon.
just to mention real quick, we're all full of God's light. Jesus gave us that light in our hearts, and don't be afraid to walk into dark places to shed that light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to shine that light as much as you can, because others in that darkness need to see it.
They need to see what they want to be. They need to know that it exists. Sometimes in some places you have people or you have things going on. It's like I make the reference of you go in a place where there's people that's on drugs or this or that, and I'm not saying hang out in those places. But what I'm saying is those people didn't choose to be crackheads. Those people didn't choose. They were a child. They were born into this world. They were born into this refinement, and they've stumbled and fallen off the path. And you have to understand that that's still a child of God. And if there's some way that you can yank that person out of that fire, you can. You can't let them yank you in the fire because you got to stay on the path and you don't bend. But you can have compassion for these people, and you can also set up properly and righteously walk anywhere you want, and nothing can touch you. Nothing. You can walk out on the water, but you got to put your hand on the side of the boat and get your foot up ready. You got to take preparations. You got to believe. You got to have faith. Walk like you got faith. Act like you got faith. Have faith, and you will have faith. That's how I've learned it. I'm just telling you what I've been going through, what I've had to go through. That's all I'm doing. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just telling you my life story, everything I talk about. So, well, Shannon, I reckon we better let these folks go. We've had them here an hour and a half. But we'll be back here again on Wednesday, if not sooner. And we'll be on the website off and on too. So, y'all guys come on over to the website. Join our little family. We invite you. You don't have to be alone. Got a bunch of buddies hanging out on the website. You can talk to them. You can go there and chat with them live. And I'm there quite often too. So come on over. Until next time, though, Shannon, I guess we'll see them next time.
Yep, and come and find out what in the supernatural is going on.
Indeed. Hold on just 1 second.
Okay.
Huh?
You guys for being such a blessing to this show and to coming to our show every time that you can, putting in your comments. Your support is lovely, and we all are praying for you guys and hoping that we all get to go home together someday soon. And don't mind me as I'm trying to stall here a little.
That's okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
I had someone trying to tell me something important, and it's just someone was asking in the comments when they could, when were we going to do another call-in show? And
That's a good question.
very soon. I got to do a little work because I can't have what happened last time when I did it with somebody calling in being pranksters. I want to be set up so that way, if they want to do that, I'm more well prepared. So, with that being said, we'll do one within the next week. How about that? So, you can tell your story multiple ways. You can go on the website and to the supernatural.show and you can click on submit. Okay. You can tell your story there. You can also call in, and you can also be a guest on the show and come here in the studio, hang out with me and Shannon, and tell your story. When you go to the website to the supernatural.show and you go click on submit story, it'll ask you, do you want to tell your story on the show? Now, I haven't done a real good job of, because I've been moving and I've been homeless and everything else, so now I've settled into a place. I'm going to be able to do a better job and I'm going to get more of you guys into the actual studio. And if you selected yes, you wanted to be in the studio, even if I've told your story, I'm going to go back, call you, get you, and you're going to come on the show. I don't want nobody left out. This is the people's show, and I'm going to do the best job I possibly can. I promise. So until next time, we'll see y'all guys later.